Hello everybody and welcome to my UFC 248 reaction video. Today is Saturday, March 7th, 2020. It is 12:52 a.m. Central Time, so it's pretty late, almost 1 a.m. That means it's almost 2 a.m. Eastern. Man, we had some interesting fights today on this card today. I'll tell you what, like, I know the broadcast crew with John Anik, Joe Rogan, and Daniel Cormier were all talking about how they had to come off that high, that co-main. I still think I'm still not we'll get to all the fights, of course, but man, I am still revved up over that co-main. Hope everybody's doing good today. Actually, one thing random, my dog, he's just right behind me on the floor. He farted at one point. I want to say it was during the Joanna and Zhang fight, so bad. This is what I had to do. I had to literally get out a candle because he farted so bad. It was I literally had to leave the room, get a candle, come back and light it because I just couldn't take it, and I couldn't breathe that while the fight was going on. So in between rounds, I had to run, get a candle. Whew. Anyways, all right. So let's talk about this fight card, shall we? Oh, if you haven't seen the fights and you don't know the results, stop watching, go fight, go look at the results, whatever, and then come back. And then if you like the video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, all that shit. So let's get to the main event, shall we? Main event for UFC 248 for the UFC Middleweight Championship was Israel Adesanya versus Yoel Romero. Israel Adesanya retains his belt by unanimous decision by going all 5 rounds with Yoel Romero. Now, if you want to put in the comments if you guys went through and scored that fight. Now, hear me out. We all just watched it live. I haven't seen any replays, of course, but to me, I actually had Yoel winning that. I had him win round 1, round 2. And it's not because he was, completely outpointing Adesanya or completely, overwhelming him. But I feel like Romero in the first and second round, again, from the first time watching it, because this is my initial reaction, I feel like he had the harder shots just in those first 2 rounds. And Adesanya, he'd throw a leg kick. And that's the thing. It goes back to all the judging criteria that our judges are supposed to be scoring by is, what scores more? Let's say 5 leg kicks on the thigh or 1 huge overhand right or left, I guess, for Yoel. That actually, I don't want to say wobbles, but you could see it physically affect Israel. What's if that's all it was, 5 leg kicks versus 1 overhand right or left, who would win that round? And I feel like that's all it was just obviously just like the broadcast crew was talking about, there just wasn't that much activity, especially in round 1 and 2. And that's why I almost give it to Yoel, is because the one thing that sticks out in my mind when it comes to the new judging criteria in the unified MMA rules is they go by damage. I know the old rules was like striking, grappling, octagon control, blah, blah, blah. Now it's supposed to be damage, which I think is the right move. And Yoel landing that big overhand in round 1, I think, and 2. Plus, I think he threw a side kick to the body that looked like it hurt pretty bad. It didn't look like it actually affected Israel, but the thud of it and how it looked, to me, that's what stood out in round 1 and round 2. So I wrote those down. Round 1, round 2, I gave it to Romero. And then Izzy finally started picking it up in 3 and 4. So I gave round 3 and round 4 to Izzy. And then we get to the 5th round. And this is where I was just like, I was almost watching the clock to see, over time to see who was getting offense off. And of course, with Yoel doing what Yoel does and Izzy, again, trying to be calculated, Israel obviously hurt the leg a lot, like he was talking about in the post-fight interview. But man, Yoel was going after him. Like, he actually, did I write down? I don't think I wrote down what round it was, but I think it might have been round 5. Maybe not. But at one point, Yoel actually, like, but the thing is I think John Anik said they didn't give him, or the 3 attempts that Yoel went for, they didn't give him those actual 3 rounds, or excuse me, 3 takedowns as official takedowns. But I feel like I guess if you touch the ground and get back up, yeah, I guess that's not considered a takedown. You got to be taken down and held, so I guess that didn't happen. But the way he was able to knock Israel down and then hit him a couple times, and Israel had to, like, circle and get away, I feel like that's good moments for Yoel compared to just a couple leg kicks, maybe a straight jab, and he didn't throw very many like jab and then straight right. And again, which is understandable because I think Yoel was coming over the top when Israel was throwing the jabs. I might be wrong. Let me think. Israel's throwing his left. I'd have to watch again. I don't remember. But so round 5, I gave to Yoel. And that's how I had Yoel win that fight. Round 1, round 2, and round 5. 1, 2, 5. And I'd have to go watch it again to kind of, again, watch the clock. But I was watching the clock in round 5 to be like, because, again, I had it going 2-2. In round 5, I was like, fuck this. Who knows? Who knows how this is going to go? Excuse me. And so I was just trying to watch the clock. And I just felt like Yoel was able to get more damage off, even though he did less. But I just feel like it was more damage. So either way, a couple things I want to mention about this fight is, number one, I'm interested to hear what Israel says about Yoel after the fight. Like, is it going to be similar to what Luke Rockhold and Robert Whittaker said when they fought him, how he felt like cement and metal? I wonder if Izzy's going to say the same thing, or if he's going to, like, play it off. Like, he's like, nah, feels like... I feel like Izzy's going to try to play it off. He'd be like, nah, they're just a bunch of pussies or something, So I'm interested in that, number one. Number two, did you all, like, see how many head kicks that Yoel ducked? That dude is so fast, and not only fast, but he'd be able to react to that shit. Like, obviously, yes, some of them. I don't think any hit super flush on Yoel because he had his hands up like this that whole time, and he was so fast at, like, blocking him and just hitting him off his hand. But there was those times where he would Izzy would kick and he ducked and was up so fast. I was like, how is this dude doing this? Like, I just don't. I want to say he did it at least 3 times that I can think of. And then what at the very end, like, Izzy does, like, what would you call that? A cartwheel kick? And he ducked that and was back up and, like, right up in his grill. It's like, holy fuck. It still blows my mind how Yoel is able to do what he does. So that blew my mind. That was number 2. Number 3, not related to the fight, but I thought it was pretty funny that we were shitting on the old Texas commission, even though they just announced that the UFC is going back to Texas. It's like, I don't think Texas will say anything, but maybe in the back end, Texas commission be like, yo, what the fuck? You're shitting on us, blah, 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 even though you're coming. It's just fucking, I don't know. Anyways, that's a different conversation. Yeah, the only other things I had noted here, again, what should count more? Like multiple leg kicks or a big overhand right that visibly and physically, knocks him back or stuns him. Doesn't have to maybe drop him per se or make him wobble, but, like, hit him and, like, make him react, Like, what should count more there? I don't know. We don't have those clear definitions. So, as for Israel, just like they were saying in the post-fight interview, like Joe Rogan was saying, obviously next fight has to be Costa. It looks like, I assume the police or somebody escorted Costa out of there because, of course, Israel went to go talk shit to him. And I thought it was so funny when he was like, yeah, he'll possibly throw feces at the cage. That was pretty funny. But they obviously, I assume, took him off out of the area because they didn't want some crazy shit going down. So probably good call on their end. Not that I don't know. I don't know if he'd actually try anything or not, but So yeah, obviously that's a next, which it's just fucking murderer's row at middleweight. You have to fight Romero, and then now you're gonna fight Costa. Like, I think that's the thing. Like, after the event was completely over and the broadcasters were kind of reviewing the main and co-main event, they were talking about how the difference between Adesanya and Romero, how that fight's gonna look, how that fight looked versus how Adesanya and Costa is gonna look, and obviously, yeah, it's gonna look completely different. Look how Romero fights and look how Costa fights. But the thing is, I think you need to realize, and I need to look. Let me look real quick. I think Costa is still undefeated. Let me look. Paulo Costa. Yes, he is 13-0 at the moment. So the thing is, if depending on your familiarity with MMA, is some of these fighters, they get kind of like Israel, 19-0, 20-0. Khabib's 28-0. Like, they get to the point where they feel invincible. I feel like Khabib's kind of maybe past that point where he doesn't feel exactly invincible, but they have that feeling of invincibility where they can throw anything to the wind. Costa is still at that point where he just barges in and just fucking throws everything in the kitchen sink at you. And that's why that fight with Romero, between Costa and Romero, went down like that, is because Costa, whatever, he will come at you because he believes in his chin, he believes in his power, he believes in his own techniques. Like, that's why we're going to see a completely different fight when it comes to him and Adesanya. He's going to fucking bring it because he feels like he's still invincible. He hasn't lost yet. So, super excited for that fight. I mean, I was still excited for the Romero and Adesanya fight, of course. But just like Adesanya was talking about, he had to do what he had to do to win the fight, and it worked out in his favor. So, props to Izzy. You know, him and his team get to keep the belt and go home with that, and chalk up another win and get ready for the next one to Mr. Costa. As for Yoel, man, what do we do here? I mean, Yoel, I kind of thought about towards the end of the 5th round. I don't know why. I was like, man, if Yoel loses this, what should he do? I think it was Joe Rogan on the broadcast was saying that this would be his last shot. You're telling me if, let's say, Adesanya fights Costa, let's say Costa catches him, knocks him out first round, and then Yoel Romero just gets one more win in middleweight division, you're telling me they're not going to give Yoel another shot at the belt, and it'll be the rematch of, it had to be the fight of the night between Costa and Romero. You're telling me they're not going to make that for the title, number 2? Like, come on. But that wasn't what I was thinking. What I was thinking was could Romero go to 205? I mean, I think Joe Rogan was talking about how Romero could possibly be like over 200 standing in the cage. So obviously, if that's the case, he wouldn't have to cut much, number 1. Number 2, I think he's only 6 foot, but to take on John Jones at light heavyweight with Jones's reach and height and everything, man, I don't know. I feel like Jones would just pick him apart because I think how Jones fights, he's very single variance kind of fight where he'll throw a jab and then a leg kick and then maybe a uppercut and then possibly attempts a takedown or fakes a takedown and then a head kick, and it's just he varies up a lot of things, and and I think he would just pick Yoel off from distance and possibly just do exactly what Adesanya did today to get the win. Just do what's needed and go home with your head on your shoulders kind of thing. So I don't know. For Yoel, I feel like he doesn't have many options in the UFC. I feel like he should just sit back, take another middleweight fight, and see how the championship kind of turns out after this. So, yeah, I don't know. Let me know. What's your thoughts on what could be next for Yoel? I'm interested in seeing what your guys' thoughts are. So anyways, enough about the main event. Let's talk about the goddamn co-main event. Woo! So Weili Zhang, or Zhang Weili, however you want to go about it, retains her strawweight belt for 115 pounds by defeating Joanna Jędrzejczyk after going all 5 rounds for Joanna. Number 1. Holy shit. I know the broadcast was talking about this, saying how this has to be the best women's title fight. It has to be the best women's title fight. It has to be the best maybe women's fight. Possibly contender for fight of the year, even though we're in March. So put that on the list of fights of the year while we go, throughout the year. And holy shit, that hematoma on Joanna's head, I kind of felt bad for her when Joe went to interview her and she was like standing there looking at the camera. You could see her just like, oh geez, oh no. Because if I was in her position, the thing is not only is she a fighter, but she's a woman. And I know, let's talk about fucking sex and all these other things in society and things like that, but she's a woman, and I feel like that's all people are going to do is just make fun of the way she looked at the end of the fight. And obviously she should, I assume, go back normal. Hopefully there's no permanent damage there. But yeah, she looked terrible. I mean, on the flip side, what the fuck is Zhang made out of? Like, yeah, she's a little swelled around the face a little bit, around the eyes. But Jesus, dude, some of the shots she took, like, Joanna looked like she was actually sitting down on her punches. I feel like Joanna was always don't get me wrong, she definitely put numbers up against Zhang, but she looked like she actually sat down on some of her punches. Like, we all expected Zhang to come in with a power, and which is what we saw, but I felt like some of the shots Joanna was doing had power. And I was like, damn, I feel like I've never seen this on Joanna. So, goddamn, it was a great fight. It's a great fight. Sucks for Joanna, but Zhang, retains the belt. I think somebody on the broadcast, it might have been Joe, mentioned seeing that Joanna went southpaw. And I want to say it was, I don't know if I've ever heard a game plan like this. Like, obviously, you'll see some fights where a fighter will, for a minute, they'll be conventional, and then they'll switch to southpaw to do a certain technique and then go back to conventional, which is understandable because from what I understand about MMA is when you're conventional, you're so comfortable in that position. If you're back to southpaw and like a head kick's coming, when you're conventional, you know how to block it. When you're southpaw, maybe there's a certain way you need to move that's different to what you're not close to, so your defenses almost go down. Not only not only defense, but what you expect, like what sides to be coming. Like maybe that person can better react to the changing of the position between conventional and southpaw, and you don't know that. So I feel like when it comes to fights and fighters switching stances, they do it. They're just doing it multiple times during a round, which is great. But what about in this situation? I feel like Joanna was conventional in first and the second round. I think this is my first time watching it, so it's just my reaction from watching it live. So I feel like she was first and second round, she was conventional. It looked like the third round she was completely southpaw. So the question I have is, was that a plan, or is that something like I almost feel like it'd be a good way to lull your opponent into knowing, okay, they're conventional round 1, they're conventional round 2, and all of a sudden round 3 you're like, oh fuck, they're southpaw the whole time. Like, what's going on here? I think round 4 she went back to conventional, and so I assume that was on purpose. I don't know. Maybe a leg was hurting and she wanted to move it back. Let's see, if she was conventional, so maybe her left leg was hurting, so she switched to have her left in the rear. But yeah, another thing I noticed was when Joanna was throwing the straight kicks up the middle, that's when Zhang was getting some overhands, I feel like, and she was timing that really well. It was in the beginning when she was timing that. More later in the fight, Zhang wasn't able to capitalize on it. But I noticed a lot, like Joanna would like try to hit the body, but the ones that would almost go up to the chin, the ones she like kicks up or flips up really fast, I feel like Zhang was able to time those right in the beginning, and those were doing some damage right from the get-go for Zhang. But yeah, dude. And then what round was it? Like fourth round, they were just fucking standing in the pocket, phone booth fighting. It was insane. Such a great fight. Let's talk about where each fighter goes next. Zhang, in my opinion, I guess between Rose and Andrade, which is next month on the Khabib and Ferguson fight, I guess maybe the winner of that could get the next shot. I assume if Rose wins, this should be the next one. Andrade, I don't know, because she lost quite convincingly to Zhang. So I feel like Zhang should just kind of sit and wait, see how the division turns out. I know on the broadcast at the end they're talking about Tatiana Suarez. But if I remember correctly, she was having neck issues and neck surgery. And, dude, not, I don't know. Not that I want to, because all these fighters are adults and they're all consenting to what they're doing. But I don't want to rush people in their number one that are, like, injured to that kind of point where it'll horribly affect them in the fight, as well as I don't want them to be compromised that, number one, could cause them to even affect it more and then make it permanent damage down the line, or completely fuck them up right then and there. It's just like, let her sit out, let her heal. She'll come back. She's a fucking beast. She'll come back, get one more dominant win or one more fight where it's a Khabib style, just lay on him, ground and pound just the whole time, and that's it, and then she'll get her next shot. I feel like she doesn't have to be in a hurry. Go, stay home, heal up, come back when you're ready. Like, don't rush her in. I don't want to see her get injured again. She's such a good prospect. And Zhang should just sit, wait, and see how the division turns out. And then Tatiana Suarez, same thing. Sit home, heal up, do your thing, take care of yourself, and then come back when you're ready. The division will still be there. It ain't going anywhere. The only thing you're kind of obviously losing out on for Suarez is her prime. And I don't know if she's in her prime yet. So for Joanna, man, where do you go from here? I really don't know what you do with Joanna. Obviously, she can go up to 125. I think Joanna should just, I don't know. I don't think she'll hang it up. I really don't. Maybe she should do the same thing. Sit back and just kind of see what happens to the division. I'd have to look at the. Let me bring up the. I should have brought it up earlier. Let me bring up the rankings for strawweight. So Andrade is 1, Rose Namajunas is 2, so that's those two. Tatiana Suarez is 3, so she's out with her neck injury. Joanna's 4. Nina Ansaroff is 5. Now, has Nina and Joanna fought before? Let's look. Joanna, Nina. No, she's never fought Nina, so that could be a fresh fight down the line. The only thing is I think Nina has actually thought about retiring. Actually, wait a minute, no. I want to say I just saw a thing. Was it Amanda Nunes and Nina both announced that they were going to be having their first kid? But Amanda has a fight coming up with Felicia Spencer, so maybe Nina's the one having the baby, or maybe they're having a surrogate mother. I'm not sure. I haven't looked into that. Because if it's Nina, obviously that's not going to be the case. And then if that's not the case, you got Claudia Gadelha, which actually that would kind of make sense. Wait, did Gadelha and Joanna fight twice? Hold on. Let me check. Claudia. Yes, they did. Joanna won that twice, so there's no point making that. Carla Esparza, she beat her way back in the day. She's beaten Michelle Waterson. Dude, Joanna has cleared the table here. Like, cleared out the division. It's crazy. I don't know what you do with Joanna other than just kind of let her sit. I mean, Joanna could fight Suarez when Tatiana comes back. Maybe let them both sit out. Obviously, Joanna's going to be pretty messed up after this fight, with the beating she took, as well as Zhang took. So, yeah. So, I don't know. Great fight. Really great fight. It was super exciting. And the broadcast was right as well. Like, the strawweight division is obviously the best division right now for women's MMA, at least in the UFC. So, super exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing Zhang's next fight. You could see some of the strikes that she was landing on Joanna, how it was affecting her. I feel like a lot of hers obviously had a lot more pop and power on Joanna's, but Joanna was still sitting on her shots too, so I really like that. Okay, let's move on. The fight before that was Beneil Dariush taking on Drakkar Klose. Beneil Dariush wins via KO/TKO with an overhand left. I think they announced it as an actual KO. This was in round 2, 1 minute in, and round one went kind of what I thought. Like, Beneil Dariush, I feel like, I don't want to say he's a dark horse because people, I don't think people are underestimating Beneil, and he's on the up and up. But he's definitely kind of had his ups and downs. But I feel like he's getting not a ton better after every fight, but I feel like he's just improving just enough every fight, to really keep up there. And with this fight with Drakkar Klose and that first round, it was interesting how Beneil actually said after the first round, he's like, yeah, my legs felt fine, went back to my corner, and then I was like, shit, wait a minute, maybe my legs are a little burned. He's like, well, time to use my hands, and that's how he was able to pull it off. I feel like this is one of those classic examples of a fight where Drakkar Klose started fucking putting them on him in that second round. I think his corner really got to him. It was like, dude, you need to let go. And Drakkar got in there and really started laying it on him. And you could see Dariush actually, I can't remember the exact strike that Klose threw. And then Beneil was kind of like backing up against Cage. And it's one of those situations where I feel like, in my opinion, Klose didn't take his time. And he was just kind of rushing, trying to capitalize on Dariush being hurt, which is completely understandable. But it was one of those times where you almost have to don't get caught in the firefight. Take your time, pick your shots, still move out, kind of stand and use that distance management and your timing, where he was just kind of running in and just, trying to just brawl it. And it didn't work. It didn't work for Klose. Beneil was able to take advantage of Drakkar just kind of running in there and trying to finish it, and he clobbered him for it. And Beneil was able to come back and then finish him. And at first, what was it? Joe Rogan was saying it would be the best fight in the card. That first round, I wouldn't say that was the best fight in the card, but that 1 minute of round 2, yeah, probably the best. I don't know. That co-main event might take it, but that might have been the best 1 minute on the card in a fight. I don't know, but it was exciting. So great fight for Beneil. Unfortunately for Drakkar, he's got to go back to the drawing board. I mean, he's only 11-2, so I know Drakkar will have a bright future. So next we had a bout between Neil Magny and Jinglong Lee. Neil Magny taking this win with a unanimous decision, going all 3 rounds with Lee with the leech. Neil Magny looked fucking amazing. I know Neil Magny has always been a solid fighter, but I feel like he took a big step in this fight. Neil Magny just looked on fucking point to me. I don't know about you guys, but he looked on point. And I was super impressed, and I feel like those 2 years did him well. It sucks because it was I feel like his prime. If not, he's in his prime now. How old is Neil? Let me look. He's got to be 30-something. He's 32. So he's got to be right in his prime. And great win for Neil. They were saying Lee was on a 3-fight win streak. Let me look and see who he's actually beaten. He beat Daichi Abe, David Zawada, and Elizu Zaleski. Do you guys know any of them? I don't. They don't sound familiar. Before that, he lost to Jake Matthews, which is the fight everybody kind of talks about with the leech kind of putting his fingers in the eyes of Jake Matthews on the ground. And then now he fights Neil Magny and loses. So it's I don't know. I don't know about the leech. For Magny, who did he call out? Robert Whittaker? Dude, I'm down for that. I'm 100% down for that. I think Whittaker was supposed to fight... Who was it? The Gorilla, I think. I want to say that didn't work out. And so, yeah, I mean, I know Neil was saying, in the summer, hey, it's already, March, April, May, June, so maybe 3 months. It's a quick turnaround. Neil Magny, he could fucking do that. So, great fight by Neil. Fight before that, Alex Oliveira gets a decision win over Max Griffin, a split decision win, that is. Again, going all 3 rounds. I feel like this fight was really close. Really fun fight, though. But Alex was able to pull it off. I did like how Alex started finally mixing up a little bit and trying to go for some takedowns, but Max's takedown defense is really good, so he wasn't able to really get much going to the ground. But I feel like Alex, I definitely feel like I didn't score it, But I feel like Alex definitely walked away with a win there. But I could see it going for Max Griffin. It was really close. Definitely wasn't a robbery, in my opinion. So, great win for the Brazilian Cowboy. So, I mean, I don't know if Alex Oliveira is actually ranked. Let me look. Welterweights. No, he's not. I don't know if that would get him maybe. I don't know if that would get him ranked in welterweight or not. Yeah, maybe not. You got some fucking killers at welterweight. Maybe, let's see. How many fights is that? How many wins in a row is that for Alex Oliveira? None. He was on a that's right. He was on a 3-loss streak. Nope. He won't have any number. But hey, great win for Brazilian Cowboy there. All right, so that's the main card. I'm not going to talk about every fight on the prelims and early prelims, but I do want to touch on some of them here. Let's talk about the main fight, the top of the prelims. Sugar Sean O'Malley. Woo! Round 1. 2 minutes and 2 seconds KO TKO of Jose Quiñones. Sugar Sean staying undefeated. What was he saying? It was too easy. It looked, I don't want to say it looked easy, but because Jose was kind of in it, but man, at one point you could see Sugar was just feeling it, and he just had so many tools, I feel like, at his disposal. I feel like he's another one of those fighters that, you know how when Bruce Buffer announces John Jones, and he says, you know how they say some fighters like, oh, a wrestler or blah, blah, blah. I don't know if you ever noticed, but for John Jones, obviously either Jones or his coaches were the ones that said this, but they said to call him look-see-do. Look-see-do. Basically, he sees, or he looks at the fighter, sees what they're doing, and does onto them what he can, goes through the holes that he can see. I feel like Sean's kind of like that. I feel like Jones doesn't do that as much more. I feel like he's a little more calculated and boxed in now to be really good at his basics, where kind of like the old Jones, the crazy fucking Jones, like what Joe Rogan always talks about. He started his championship fight with Shogun with a fucking flying knee, and I feel like Sean has a little bit of that. Again, he's another person that's undefeated, so he probably feels like he's invincible. And on top of that, being able to have all those tools at his disposal, plus all that time off, what was it, like a year? Let me look. Or was it 2 years? I don't remember. Because of being injured, USADA. 2018-03. So yeah, just 4 days over 2 years. So we had 2 fighters on this card that took 2 years off and both won. Neil Magny and Sean O'Malley. So great fight by Sean. Moving down the list, Marco Madsen beating Austin Hubbard in a unanimous decision after going all 3 rounds. I knew Austin Hubbard was a champ in LFA, but I didn't know that thing with the history about his leg when the broadcast was talking about how he had that either infection or disease or something after getting leg kicked, and how they almost had to amputate his leg, and instead they were able to do surgery on it and fix it. Like, holy shit, to be able to come back from that, like, not only be healthy, keep your leg, and be able to train and be physically active, but also get into an MMA fight. Holy shit, hats off to the guy. Like, and you could easily see that scar up his thigh. I was like, god damn. But unfortunately, he just did not have what it takes to defeat Marco Madsen. Marco Madsen did what he does with his wrestling. I feel like Austin was starting to come together in that 3rd round. Like, it was kind of rough listening to the corner advice after the 2nd round for Austin Hubbard. They were just telling him, they're like, you gotta fucking go, you gotta let it go, blah blah. They knew he was down, and he definitely was. And even if Austin really, I don't know if they gave Austin that, if any of the judges gave Austin that 3rd round, but it wasn't enough to finish off Mark, and so Mark walked away with the win, and great win by Mark. Going down the list, obviously Rodolfo Vieira doing his thing. Round 1, submission, arm triangle choke against Safarov. That punch that Safarov, was it a punch, I think, that affected Vieira's eye? Like, that was insane. Like, how bad it was. That was just in round 1, and the fight only went 2 minutes and 58 seconds. What if that would have kept going? Who knows, you know? But Vieira did what Vieira does and got the submission, so great win there. Darren Wynn. He lost his fight to Gerald Meerschaert. I was kind of in and out. I was kind of doing some stuff around the house, so I didn't really get to catch all of this. But I saw that the finish happened in round 3 with Gerald. It was a good back and forth for a while, and I think Gerald got hurt in that 3rd round, was able to finish Darren, and it was a great win for him. So he seemed like a really nice guy. I want to say at one point it was around 1 I saw when he hit Darren in the nads, and Gerald's like, "Oh man, I'm sorry, dude. That's completely my fault." I was like, to be in a fight like that, and testosterone and your adrenaline's pumping and you're fucking fighting another person, to stop and be like super down to earth and be like, "Dude, I'm so sorry." Like, it's insane. Kind of like Joanna and Zhang when was it the 5th round they came out and hugged each other. I'd be like, get the fuck away from me. I'm about to whoop your ass. Like, it's just crazy to me in the mindset of these fighters and some of the things they can do mid-fight. Not only that, but fight. It was crazy. The last 2 fights I didn't get to see, so I won't comment on those. But overall, great card, great pay-per-view. I enjoyed it. It was a good night of fights. Good weekend of fights. I went to the Invicta fights yesterday as well, and I really enjoyed the open scoring, so that was great. Let me look and see what we have upcoming on our schedule here. Obviously, we should have a card for UFC next weekend. I think, oh, yes. It is Charles Oliveira. He's in the main event, taking on Kevin Lee. And I think it's in Brazil. Yes, it's in Brazil, which is pretty crazy. But Kevin Lee coming off of that win over Gregor Gillespie. So, and Charles Oliveira, I think he's on fire right now too. So that should be a great fight. I think we also have Pitbull is in the main event, but it's Bellator 241. That's on Friday, March 13th. And then, if you're a real MMA fan, you'll tune in to the Alaska Fighting Championship 158 taking place March 11th. It's probably a Wednesday night because that's when they typically do it. Correct. This upcoming Wednesday, the 11th, Wednesday night. So that's what we got coming up this week. I'm going to go and do some research, see what kind of local fights I have going on so I can go to those here in the near future. So anyways, that is my reactions and thoughts on watching all these fights live. Thanks if you're still watching. Thanks for watching the whole video. Thanks for the support. Again, if you liked the video, hit the thumbs up, do the subscribe, do all that jazz. I really appreciate it. I'm going to put some videos on my side here that are like my recommended and latest, and then if you want to hit the subscribe button up there, I'll post that. So with that, it's super fucking late. Go to bed. Have a good night. Talk to you guys next time. Peace.